left, right.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is the first part of a two-part episode. It was a long one. We had a guest on, so right now you can hear a little bit about speed limits in New York City, drinking some Russian vodka, what's going on with coronavirus, I think you find this one pretty interesting. But we get into some sexual harassment stuff, and then we bring in a friend of mine, Nicole. That's going to be in part two. So if you're only interested in the sexual harassment stuff, or we really delve into it, check out part two. But either way, enjoy. Leave me some feedback. Leave me some comments. I want to know what you think. I want you to participate. That'll give me reason to keep going. So I appreciate it, guys, and enjoy. This is Sip Talk. Grab a drink and enjoy.
Gross as fuck.
Cheers.
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 Welcome to episode 32 of Sip Talk. We have James, the Bosnator Boswell here, and you are drinking.
I am drinking Wicked Weed. Fresh pressed wheat ale. So it's like a juicy wheat ale with a little bit of bitterness to it. Next in the holster is going to be a passion fruit Gosa from R&D Brewing out of Raleigh, North Carolina, which is a really good drink. But that's next after this first beer goes.
Nice promo you got there. I'm going to hit the Guinness, which is bubbling right up.
You got a glass to pour that in?
You're not a glass, but it's going right out of the can. And that's nice. I've been dying for a beer all day. Last night, I got invited to a Russian birthday party. And it was at a Russian restaurant. So the whole full experience, Russian cuisine, Russian drinks. The Russian beer that we had apparently has different levels. I got a 6. There was a 7. I think it goes up to 9. It starts at 1. It just reminded me of like the BBC, radio channels. I don't know exactly how they work. I just know there's a different number.
So I'm guessing that on the 1 to 9 scale, it's what level of alcohol is in the beer or what?
I had a 6 and it was dark, and then there was a 7 and it was light. So I don't know anything about it. It started with a B, like Bolinsky or something. But it was Russian beer. It's very good. But as you may know this, the Russians can really drink, and the drink of choice is vodka.
Yep.
So not everybody was drinking. We had at least 3 bottles of vodka, and everybody had beer and drinks throughout the evening. And we had all this crazy Russian food, which was based kind of around things that last, I guess. So there was a lot of cabbage, a lot of potatoes, there's a dried fish.
No, you had me until the dried fish.
So there was a salty fish, there was a potato salad, and then there was a beet salad. There's these dumplings, some sour cream. We didn't really have any entrees, but it's just kind of this pass around. And then, this was the best, was cured pork fat. Which somebody was like, "Oh, this is chicken," no, there was no caviar at all. So he's like, "Oh, this is chicken," and I ate it, and they're like, this chicken tastes like butter." I'm like, "No, it's not chicken. It's just pure fat." And apparently, you put mustard and some horseradish on it. So it was quite the experience, but I had a lot of vodka last night. So I fared all right. But today, it's just been a bit of a fog. So I'm happy to have a glass, cure a little bit of the light hangover I had.
I have never found that drinking has made any hangover better.
You're not doing it the right way.
That's what people have been telling me. And I say, I'm just going to stay in bed and throw up.
Well,
That's my cure.
I could not stay in bed. Hey, guys, I'm thankful you guys are here joining Spanglish. No, I'm sorry. Hello from Argentina. I don't speak much Spanglish, not unless I've had probably 5 or 6 of these.
What I've found helps actually, if you can suffer through it, is exercise has been a pretty good cure for hangovers. They're just up in the metabolism.
I agree completely.
But it sucks.
I run a lot in the morning, especially after being hungover. That seems to work pretty well. Today, the second day in a row, I woke up this week And it was cool enough out that I could put on a little shirt and a tie and put some regular clothes on again, because it's been hot and muggy and sticky around here, and I haven't been able to suit up. And it's the end of the day now, so I'm a bit more relaxed. But it's nice to look like a normal professional person again. So greasy food is the best hangover cure ever. Yeah, but you stick to one spirit, you'll have a light hangover. Yeah, that's true. That's generally true. And coffee. I've had so much coffee. So I saw this article today. I think it came out today, New York Times. I don't subscribe, so I had to sneakily get the article to read it. But they're reducing this. I've been joking about this for months. I don't know if you remember this. I've been joking about reducing the speed limits to 10 miles an hour everywhere. Because, well, one too many, one death is too many. So if we're going to play that game for coronavirus, it's only fair that you play it to something that actually contributes to deaths, right? A lot of deaths.
Yeah, but nationwide, the number of fatalities from traffic accidents is usually between 30 and 40,000. It's not super high.
Well, I don't know how many it is, and traffic is an ongoing issue, whereas coronavirus supposedly will not be an ongoing issue. You can't be immune from traffic death unless you stay inside. Everybody can get hit by a car, hit by a bus, especially in New York City.
36,560 in 2018.
36,000 traffic deaths in 2000. What year?
18.
2018. 36,000 traffic deaths, 2018.
Yep.
Now, if you're playing this, one death is too many, and what measures do you have to control when it comes to traffic deaths? Speed limit being the volume knob of traffic death control.
That's the main one, and then I guess it would be standards for like the way that cars are built.
Yeah, well, obviously, but that's much more intricate. And when I say volume knob, I always picture a big receiver with all, you get the high end, the low end, treble to the mid range, and the bass, and you have all these different knobs. And I ask people, you're looking at a receiver, you have all these knobs and levers. What can you turn or move that'll have the most effect on the listener's experience? And it's always a volume knob. So when I say volume knob, that's what I'm referencing. And when it comes to traffic deaths, your volume knob is speed limit. And I am pushing for a 10-mile-an-hour speed limit all throughout New York City because I think that's the safest way. You can't have one person die.
You can't be serious.
No, of course I'm not serious. I'm being an asshole.
Oh, okay.
And the reason is because, we have all these restaurants. So Italian restaurants in New York City are not going to be able to reopen until we have a vaccine. So at a certain point, they're going to close because it's going to be too cold for outdoor seating or whatever the situation is going to be, or the restaurant won't be able to accommodate outdoor seating when it starts snowing outside.
Or the restaurant's just going to close because they can't afford to pay rent and all their overhead because they're generating no income.
Well, that's the point. They're going to close for good. They're going to close the doors, because they can't operate without operating inside. A ton of places right now can't serve food. They don't have anywhere for outdoor seating, so they're just stuck. They can't open back up.
So all they can do is delivery orders, and some restaurants do that better than others.
Yeah, and some things you get delivery. And some, pizza, you get delivery for.
But any of the fine dining stuff where you're looking at like $200 or $300 for a meal, no one's doing delivery for that. A lot of the experience comes from being in that setting and having the service and having the food prepared to you in a certain way with the presentation and all sorts of other stuff. And you just cannot replicate that no matter what you do by delivery.
I want to know, if you're watching this live, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, what is the most expensive menu item you have ordered for delivery? I've ordered maybe like a $35. I've ordered steak before, I'm guessing. I don't remember where it was. I just remember ordering a steak from a decent place. And it just, obviously, first of all, if you get something delivered, it has this additional quasi-cooking time.
Yep. Because
it's in transit in a some type of vessel to get it to you. So Chilean sea bass, $45. Steak and lobster. Does this compare to the regular restaurant experience? Because I think there's no way in hell you're going to get anything. You're spending $45 for an entree For fish, you're basically, I mean, you're cooking it even more, and then it shows up all wet. That's the issue with ordering fried food for delivery. You get this kind of
The condensation in the tray.
Yeah, exactly. You get all this extra moisture it's supposed to be crunchy and hard. It just doesn't work that way unless it's a fast delivery. And I don't know. I don't order enough delivery to consistently enough to know.
Yeah, but no delivery is going to be as fast as the walk from the kitchen to the table.
I mean, I'm going through tax stuff right now on my personal accounts and looking at what was spent at bars and restaurants last year, and pretty commonly we're in the triple figures. Whereas if I look at my Seamless bill, which is what we use in New York City to order food, Grubhub and Seamless, I don't think I'd probably ever have an order over $100 on Grubhub or Seamless. So I mean that's a lot of food to get for delivery.
I think the most expensive I've done is in like the 35 to 50 range. When I was earlier this spring dating somebody who really liked Hall's Chop House, which if you haven't been to Charleston, really good steak restaurant. And so this was during the pandemic and we couldn't go there to eat. And she earned more money than I did. She said, you know what? I don't care. Like, let's split it around. I said, all right, fine. We're dating. So like, we did Hall's delivery once or twice. And no, their steak was good.
It's all right.
Well, we picked it up. They didn't deliver. I drove down to Hall's to pick it up. And their steak was really good, but it would have been better if I was just in the restaurant and had it fresh.
Yeah, of course. But you're paying the same per entree. Typically, I see the online menus are a little more than the regular menus. I don't know if I've heard that in the past. I haven't actually really looked. But
well, it depends on if you're ordering directly from the restaurant and doing pickup, or if you're doing something like Uber Eats or Grubhub or whatever.
Yeah.
So when I was working as a bartender, we did some sales through Grubhub, which I hated. And I'm pretty sure the way it works is, let's say that we had a sushi roll on the menu that was regular price $7. So what they would do is they would source our menu from us. They would just get a scan, or we had our menu posted online. So they just look and see such and such a roll is $7. And then if you went onto the Grubhub app, they might have charged $8 or $9 for it. So whatever their prices were completely different from whatever our menu was. And when they would show up, we would just ring them out for whatever the full price of the stuff was. So we charged them $7 for the roll, and then they charged the customer whatever the customer agreed to pay them. And if the customer paid them $9 for the roll and it only cost them $7 to buy it from us, then they'd pocket the $2, or maybe it went to the delivery driver. I don't know. But I hated Grubhub because as a bartender, I worked essentially for tips. The hourly wage that I was paid by the restaurant, almost all of that went to covering taxes. Yeah. So if I was doing an order for Grubhub, the drivers aren't allowed to tip. And even if you put a tip on the Grubhub app or whatever, that goes to the driver, not the restaurant.
Yeah,
so
the restaurant charges like a $2 delivery, but that probably goes right back to the app as well.
No, we didn't get anything. If you ran, I don't know, $5-7 rolls or whatever, and then your bill will be $35 plus whatever the tax was.
Does anybody know if you can order alcohol now in New York City or maybe anywhere else on Grubhub? Because I know formerly you couldn't order alcohol on a Seamless or a Grubhub. I don't know if you can in South Carolina.
I have no idea. I think they've expanded it a little bit, but
probably.
Yeah, when I was bartending, this would be like, I would be the one who would have to put together the to-go orders. I'd be the one who had to field the phone calls and everything. And so it would just be time out of my night that I could be either serving customers or getting ahead on tickets, or even just like striking up conversations to increase my tips and be a better bartender, that I'm now spending in the kitchen assembling a to-go order that I'm making $0 on.
Yeah, and it's detrimental to the rest of the business. But that's why, if your takeout business is strong enough, you're going to be able to have someone who's handling that specifically, which, really depends on the market. But I think there's going to be a lot of businesses crippled. But that's back to the fucking speed limits. The speed limits in New York City are 25 in the lows, 30. I know there's some areas, like off the highway, it goes to 50. But even where we have some are remaining 30, like the exterior roads or some of the main drags through some of the neighborhoods. I think maybe like Queens Boulevard or something. Flatbush Ave, I'm not sure. Riverside Drive. And they're bringing that now also down to 20 miles an hour, 25 miles an hour, which is slow, man.
25 miles an hour, even on a residential street, is sometimes a little slow.
I mean, 30, I think, feels good. And the cool thing about New York City is the lights are timed really, really well. So that if you're doing the right speed limit, you just get green light after green light after green light after green light. Which I don't know how that's going to be effective when you adjust down the speed limits.
So you can just change the timing. It's easy.
But I wonder if they're so together on that it's going to happen instantaneously. So we get somebody saying they've ordered alcohol. Where have you ordered alcohol? And then we got let's see, some food orders: salmon, which was, of course, it was overcooked. Some South African options: Chilean sea bass, steak and lobster. We got Red Lobster, $70 order at Red Lobster, which seems really high to me for Red Lobster. But
I must have been like a meal for everybody, like a 3 or 4 person meal.
you know, somebody's asking what the best restaurant you've eaten at in New York City is. Have we been to some decent restaurants in New York City?
No, not really, because spending hundreds of dollars on a meal isn't really my thing.
Where did we go last time you were here?
We didn't really eat, like, dine out all that much. We went to the hotel right next to your office, and that was pretty decent, but that wasn't super expensive.
Yeah, the Versa Hotel with the roof deck, right?
Yeah, it was like $20 to $30 for an entree, which for New York is middle of the road to low.
Yeah. And then we went to Apotec. Was that when you were here?
Yeah, but that was drinks.
That's not a restaurant. And then we went to the Honeywell, which is another cocktail bar.
Yeah, they've got a couple small food items, but that's not their focus.
Did I bring you to Burke and Will's, that cocktail bar on the Upper West Side? It's kind of you down a few steps. I'm pretty sure we did. I'm pretty sure we did. The place unfortunately closed down pre-pandemic. Like, had they lasted another 30, 40 days, they would.
We went to that Korean place that had the really good wings.
Korean place. In Koreatown?
Yeah. I don't remember the name of it. I think Andreas brought us there, but they had like these Korean wings that were just perfectly cooked and just like the perfect mix of sweet and spicy.
I mean, Andreas is great, especially with the Korean food. You know, I'm much more of a restaurant follower. I have my tried and trues, but I don't experiment that much. You know, I'm happy to follow somebody if they suggest a restaurant. My favorite restaurant in New York City was Peasant. It's in Lolita, which is just north of Little Italy. I don't think that you and I have been there, but they recently had ownership change. And
what's the name of it?
Peasant. It's kind of like a rustic Italian place. Really good service, solid food. My favorite dish there is the sea urchin pasta, which is uni, which is sea urchin, and it's just it's almost like, I like foie gras a lot. In my opinion, it's a foie gras of seafood. I think it's absolutely incredible.
You're talking to someone who refuses to eat any seafood.
Well, yeah, I understand. Somebody just sent a link, which I can't click right now in their world, but I will check out the Quarantine Cocktail NYC link in just a minute. Thank you for sending that. Are you able to get alcoholic drinks with takeout? That's what I'm asking. I don't know if you can order. I don't know if you. I mean, but that's how restaurants make money. You know, my drink bill is always multiples higher than the food bill. Because I'll hang out at a place and, you know, drink costs, I don't know, minimum $8-10 in the city. If it's just a beer, it's a cocktail, it's closer to 20 probably. And that's oftentimes, you know, 2 drinks is equivalent to an entree. So if you stick around for 3 hours, you have.
New York City allowed takeout cocktails and wine bottles through June 27th. I'm not sure if they extended it because that's now 2 months old. But that I would be surprised if they didn't extend it. So it looks like you probably can do takeout alcohol, but I'm not able to find solid information past June 27th.
But what I want to, I'm just still on the fucking speed limit. We're talking about this because of the speed limit thing. The fact that we're dropping the speed limits, just to me, is like somebody just fucking threw a dart at my head. The fact that the society is changing, we're implementing all these stupid laws because everybody has to do the mostest.
Yeah, but lowering the speed limit doesn't actually make things safer. Study after study has shown that regardless of what you set a speed limit on, the safest speed is called the 85th percentile rule. So you can find the speed that's about what 85% or less of the drivers drive, and that's the safest speed. And you'll see this pretty much anywhere, where if you're on a highway that's 55, how many people are actually driving 55?
Yeah, but that's when it becomes discretionary of what the cops do. And if we're recording everything and we don't allow any police discretion, the cops have to pull you over at 56 miles an hour. And this comes to your speed cameras and your red light cameras, and
Well, I've read an interesting talk about that, where basically with the way that speed limits are, it's kind of a social it's a social contract that we're all in when it comes to speed limits, where when you've got police that are enforcing the speed limit, we'll talk about red light cameras in a second. When you have police that are enforcing speed limits, it's kind of a social contract that if you're going the same speed as everybody else and you're not causing problems in traffic, then police aren't going to bother you regardless of the speed that you're going. It's only if you do something stupid or you are sticking out in some way that you're going to get pulled over. And so that's where red light cameras kind of break that social contract, where if you're going through a yellow light and a fraction of a second before you make it through the intersection, it turns red, it's going to take a picture of your car and you're going to get a ticket. But what's safer? To have to slam on the brakes going into a yellow light that just turned red and possibly risk getting rear-ended or losing control of your car, or going through an empty intersection because nobody else is there because the light just turned red and the oncoming traffic hasn't even had a chance to move.
Yeah. And so you have somebody who's estimating from 200 yards out, they're estimating that light's going to turn green by the time they get there.
Yeah, but even then, if you're already in the intersection as the light is turning, they would have to be moving at a pretty good clip to catch you by the time you make it through the rest of the intersection, because you're moving at speed limit or above speed limit.
Split second. I have here in Texas, speed limit 75. I don't know if you're watching live right now. If you're watching live, it's Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. What's the fastest you've driven? And I won't tell anybody, I promise. What's the fastest you've driven on a road? If anybody's driven on a track, I'd like to know what the fastest speed you've hit on a track.
Fastest I've driven on a road is somewhere around 125.
Yeah, I'm a little north of that, but I don't want to get into too many details. But I mean, we used to push it going out to Willard Mountain. In the Volvo. Yeah, I think we hit like 120, 125. Maybe I think it was like 122 might have been the.
Yeah,
cap.
It might have been governed, but the Volvo could pull pretty hard, actually.
Well, that Volvo used to really surprise people because it was old, but I think I got it when it was 10, it must have been 11 years old.
It was a 90.
And I started driving it in 2001, so from 1990, which seems pretty old right now.
Yeah.
We got 98, we got 115, 105 through Instagram. We got 160. All right. What were you driving? I bet it was a Boxster or I think it's a RX-7. But that's fast. That is
160 is quick. I don't know if a Boxster can hit 160.
It's a light car.
Yeah, but
you got to have the stretch
relatively low horsepower, and when you get to that kind of speed, doesn't matter how light the car is, air resistance is killing you.
So I got 200 kilometers per hour. That's what? That's about, it's about 160?
No, about 124, 125.
Oh, wait, is it 60 is 100 basically?
62.
Okay, yeah, that always throws me off. Sometimes I hit the, sometimes you can switch between what illuminates the miles per hour and the kilometers per hour on the gauge. But I mean, that's a non-issue for me right now, as I don't have a car.
Well, you don't need one.
I don't need one, but it was nice to have one.
Oh, sure.
Get 105,
especially the one you had.
Yeah, no, and it was good. It was a good car, but and you know, I got a good deal on it. I was happy to have it, but going into, I didn't know how long we were going to be in lockdown, and my biggest thing was make sure the office is taken care of because basically, you know, the office is the infrastructure for me to continue to earn. So I want to make sure that money goes towards the office, and
yeah, and you got to stay liquid.
I mean, I guess. Plus, I did not have a very good relationship with the garage. I hate parking garages in New York City. We got 250 kilometers, 155. I didn't see 250 kilometers over here. But yeah, that's
back when I had the BMW, I never got it up to like super high speeds, maybe like 115 or 120. But what I would do you remember Frontage Road right near the apartment complex?
Frontage Road. Is this South Carolina? Yes. Yeah, I do.
So I use Frontage Road as kind of my benchmark for how fast a car is. So turning from 61 and going up Frontage Road before it starts to make the bend.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to get the BMW up to like 115 or so before the bend.
Shit. I remember Frontage Road. I used to run on that. And,
yes.
And it was a good road to run in the sense there wasn't much traffic, but when there was traffic, it was a bad road to run on.
Yeah, I stopped riding that road for those reasons. But yeah, I was able to get the BMW up to like 115 or 120.
Wow, that's pretty good for that strip.
That BMW was an amazing car. I miss it.
We got 250 kilometers per hour and about 155, which is fast. The thing is,
that's fast.
When you're going that fast, you will see a car on the horizon, which is 1.5 seconds later, right here, because you're literally you're coming up on that car as if you're doing 60 miles an hour, or as if you're doing 90 miles an hour, and it was parked.
Yep.
So things move really fast. Also, you have to have good tires for that.
Yeah, you don't want to blow a tire at 155.
I blew a tire out in the old 911 at probably about 90 miles an hour. I blew a rear tire out. I was cruising. It was the coldest day of the year. It was about -10. This was 2018, maybe? No, this had to be 2017. And it was -10, headed from New York City out to my mom's house, and it was freezing, and it was late. I left after work, and I was just trying to get out there as quickly as possible. And I blew a tire out at like 90 miles an hour. It was so cold. Waiting in the car for the tow truck to show up, and just like ice all over the car. And then we got in the tow truck, and he had the heat on, but it kept icing up from the humidity and like our bodies and stuff inside the cabin. And he had an ice scraper on the inside of the window just to see outside.
Oh,
the humidity was condensing and freezing on top of the windows in the tow truck. I'll see if when I throw this on YouTube, I'll throw a photo of the tire. And the rear tires in the 911 they're wide. They're really wide. And I'm holding the tire up, and it's just fucking shredded.
The wheel was probably screwed over too, right?
The wheel, oh shit, I don't remember if I had to get a new one or not.
I would imagine a tire blowing up at 90 miles an hour, you're going to be damaging the wheel.
Yeah, but it's the tires I had in that were pretty good. Anybody who's ever had a blowout knows how fucking scary that is. And at 90 miles an hour, luckily it was a very stable car, and you know, for what I think I got lucky. I don't know how the rear engine versus the front engine when it comes to
more weight over the rear.
Yeah, so I don't actually know how that way that its effect on braking when you're on metal to the asphalt.
I don't know. Yeah, I had a tire blow out on me just last week, but it was only at like 25 or 30 miles an hour. I could feel it coming.
Yeah.
That wasn't fun.
What'd you do? You have a spare in the car?
No. Well, I did, but it was like one of those tiny little spares that I didn't trust at all. And since I have AAA, I said, you know what?
AAA, you're good. You got
I'd rather just wait the hour for a tow truck to show up because that's what's going to need to happen regardless. If I put the spare on, that's really just getting a tow truck with extra steps.
Did I ever tell you about cracking the wheel on the Cayenne?
No.
I never told you the story. So we were in DR, and I was cruising the Cayenne, and there's a big bump in the road, and all of a sudden the tire just boom, and get out of the car, pull the wheel off the car, which was tough because there was a lock nut. And I did not realize that for about 20 minutes. I just couldn't figure it out. It was dark. It was late at night. And when we pulled it off, the actual wheel had cracked all the way around. It hit so goddamn hard.
This is a big pothole or something?
It was just a big hole in the road. And I'll throw a picture of that. I'll text you a picture of that because it's wild. And it went all the way around, almost like teeth. And they re-welded it. And I drove like that for a while, and it happened again, not to that wheel, to I think it was to a front one.
So the roads in DR are just absolute shit.
Yeah, if anyone's driven in the Dominican Republic, the roads are not that great. Although driving in Manhattan can be fucking bad, man. The amount of construction that they do, and then you have some erosion, or you have these fucking giant trucks. There are trucks, I can't sleep with the windows open. I've been trying to because it's been nice out lately. But you'll just hear something that it feels like it registers in the fucking Richter scale. You'll hear a truck hit like a big pothole or something. It's just like, boom, the window panes shake. Like, it's fucking wild. So, I mean, we have some major potholes. But yeah, I mean, when you can hear the trucks, it's really, got Lisa here that's just, she loves it. I whipped out the car prop. Not a car prop, really. It's just to remind me that I don't have this anymore. And it's really sad for me.
We got to go to the DR together sometime.
I just want to go anywhere. I'm so sick of just being stuck in the city. There's nothing to do. You can't really hang out. But yeah,
you can't really travel anywhere right now. Anyways, all the countries have their borders closed to us.
True, exactly. Except I think Mexico. You can travel to Mexico.
No, Mexico and Canada both have their borders shut to us.
I heard. No, I just had a guy that went to Mexico last week. He just got back.
Really? I thought that Mexico closed their border to us too.
I think Mexico and somewhere in like the Mediterranean is open. I saw a map and there was just 2 places that were open.
Oh, like I thought pretty much the entire EU was closed to us.
But DR is a cool place because it's not. I feel like it's probably not like a number one vacation spot. Like it's kind of off the map for a lot of people. They'll go to Jamaica. What are some of the other islands down there?
Jamaica and Puerto Rico are probably the 2 biggest, and then any of the any of the Virgin Islands, like any of the U.S. Virgin Islands or the British Virgin Islands, the Dutch Virgin Islands. Like I don't know all the names of them. Trinidad is another one, but that's not a huge destination. It's really Jamaica for the resorts, although there are like kind of self-contained resorts in the DR as well.
Yeah. But what do you say? DR is also cheap. The food is phenomenal. Jamaica, I had a good experience in Jamaica. I got a nice tour of the island. I went down there, and the person visiting was related to somebody who owns a nationwide sporting goods store. And they took us, basically just checking in with some of the stores, took us all around the island. And we went into a couple of malls and checked out some of the sporting goods stores.
That's cool. It
was really cool. Jamaican food is insane. I really like Jamaican food. But that was a cool time. I haven't traveled to too many of the Caribbean area islands.
Have you been to Puerto Rico?
I have been to Puerto Rico. briefly on an extended layover, which was cool. Puerto Rico is cool. I know a lot of Puerto Rican people in New York City. I feel like that's a cool thing about being in New York City.
There's more people in New York City than there are in Puerto Rico. There's more Puerto Ricans in New York City than in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, no, that's true about that country. So I have to refresh my drink real quick. So if you're watching on live, hang tight. I'm just running the mini fridge right off camera.
You know, give me something to spitball to keep the people entertained.
With that, I told you about that call I got with the sexual harassment, right? Did I explain that to you? Did I tell you about the call?
No, what happened? You got a call about sexual harassment?
No, I got so this is crazy. This is crazy. I got a phone call last week. I don't want to, it's not something I want to go too much into detail on just yet because
it's the former agent or whatever that's being accused.
I'll explain just so you, because I probably shared a little more with you than I should probably share on air. But I got a phone call and they didn't identify themselves at first, and they said there's an agent that's part of the organization that needs to be fired because many years ago they sexually harassed someone, and they wouldn't give me any of the details of sexual harassment.
I'm sure they told you the name of the agent.
Yes, they accused somebody and demanded that they be fired or I be brought down with them. So I don't have anything to base it on other than somebody potentially having done something in the past. I don't feel necessarily that that's fair.
Have you talked to the agent?
And I was threatened to. Well, we're going to have a discussion on the Thursday episode of SipTalk about kind of how to handle these situations. Like, we have a pending sexual harassment training that we're signing up for or I think it could be federal, but any employee or independent contractor that works for you more than 80 hours, you have to give them sexual harassment training. And I find that very weird because what if you have a groundskeeper that comes and cuts your lawn or does something around that, around your property for 2 hours a week or an hour and a half a week and then comes in for some additional, additional work. But 80 hours is not that much. Somebody comes an hour a week.
80 hours a year?
80 hours, yeah, I'm sorry, 80 hours a year, I think is that's somebody who's pretty irregular, but that could be your landscapers.
Yeah, you're gonna. I don't know what the liability would be if you have a landscaper that you're hiring as an independent contractor or whatever to cut the grass and whatever. Mm-hmm. And if they do something, I'm not really sure that you're gonna be able to pin it back on the business. You can basically just say, hey, you can go ahead and sue the contractor for whatever they did, and here's his contact information. Best of luck in court.
Yeah, but that's where I want to dig into, and if you're watching this, I would love for you guys to rejoin us Thursday at 6:30 because I'd really love some feedback on this. Where do you draw this line? I have an unsubstantiated claim. It was from the past. None of the information was shared with me, and I was told that I would be brought into the news if I didn't fire someone. Which,
well, first of all, you can't just go off of one person's threats. I think you need to bring the agent into the discussion and say, hey, so-and-so, I got this call from someone who wouldn't identify themselves, and this is what they said about you. Can you please tell me what the background is? Can you give me a little bit of information to go on here? Because I want to be on your side here, but the first thing I need to do is get you to tell me the full and true story of what happened.
But that person may not know, and that's where we have these unsubstantiated.
Right, but at least you give them a chance to, one, be aware that something like this exists out there, and two, a chance for them to tell their side of the story, so that way, if anything comes back on you, you can say, I spoke with the agent, and the agent told me this.
Yeah, well,
and say, I did my due diligence. I researched the claim to the best of my ability, and without further proof being offered by the accusing party, I didn't feel that there was any further discipline or action necessary on my part, because I don't think that it would be fair for me to fire an agent without evidence, and the agent told me a story that I found to be plausible.
Yeah, well, I'll dig into it a little bit more, but But yeah, I am in touch with an attorney on this matter, and I'm just obviously this is with very little information. And
Well, and if this person, male or female, that's making the accusation is going to try and slander your business, then you could have a counterclaim against them if what they're doing, if they're making something up, if they don't have an actual basis for this accusation, then you're going to be able to counterclaim against them, because then it falls under libel laws or slander laws, where the only defense for slander laws is truth. So if they're telling the truth, then sure. But if you're investigating and you know what the truth is and there's no basis to it, then if they're trying to drag your business down or whatever, then you'll have a pretty easy case in court saying they're making stuff up.
I got Coco Graham here. How do you get evidence on that? Many times there is not evidence. Coco Graham, Nicole, I was going to ask her to come on actually and discuss this. She has a podcast where they're talking about this also on her podcast, her and her husband. Apparently there's some, she has some history. I just kind of catch the headlines on it. But she has some history where there's sexual harassment, sexual abuse, something like that involved. Nicole, if you're watching and you want to send me a message off of here, I'd love to bring you on here. If you're here now, I'll throw you the Zoom link, and you can join us on Zoom. Hopefully you still have my number. But yeah, I mean, this just when there is no proof and it's unsubstantiated, that's where I think it gets really, really dicey. When you have witnesses and you have other people involved and it's blatant, I think that's my thinking is just that you have these nincompoops who have zero social skills, don't realize they're making somebody feel uncomfortable. Nicole, do you have my cell phone number? You have these people who don't have social skills, and they just do shit that they don't realize is wrong that makes somebody uncomfortable. But then again, but people are so easily offended these days. That's the other part. People have no tolerance.
Well, you can look at it.
I'm not a lawyer.
I think there are certainly situations where maybe somebody's acting inappropriately and are just not aware of it, and they didn't mean to be coming off in the way that they did. And a lot of times that's one where if you just pull them aside and say, hey, this was out of line and here's why, then that usually fixes the problem.
Yes, yeah, but it could be past the point of no return. It could be past, now someone's been offended. I watch just looking online. I watch some videos where they're telling people where you can touch your colleagues, where you can't touch your colleagues, and then I'm just like, at this point, the blanket advice should just be don't touch your colleagues.
Well, that's just a good rule in general: is don't touch people. Because just don't touch other people.
Well, now you shouldn't touch anybody at all, because God forbid you shake somebody's hand with coronavirus, you could be killing their grandparents.
Well, in all fairness, their grandparents deserved it.
I don't see where you're going with that.
That
before you sound like an insensitive prick.
Yes, that's the point. But no, even before the coronavirus or whatever, like with the like handshakes and kind of like the stuff that's expected to happen in business, or really just handshakes, I think. But outside of that, like patting somebody on the back or a hug or something like that, why take the risk? Some people are comfortable with it, other people aren't. So, like, why just don't touch people outside of a handshake, because what's there to gain?
Sure. We have Nicole. I think she's going to jump on right now.
Oh, that's great.
I'm a real estate agent. For whoever just asked that, I lost the message. But I'm a real estate agent. I run a real estate brokerage with over 100 agents, and obviously I deal with bullshit stuff all day. Like my job isn't selling and renting apartments anymore. It's just cleaning up like bullshit all the time and reordering paper in an emergency and paying a premium because somebody used the last ream of paper and the last box of paper and hid it under. We had an empty box that somebody had staged to look like a full box of paper hidden on top of a shelf. So rather than throw away an empty box of paper, a big box of paper, they took the empty box of paper and set it on top of a filing cabinet, like in a storage. Why would you take a fucking piece of garbage and put it on top of a fucking filing cabinet?
Do you know who did it?
I don't know. It was in the fucking storage closet, so I don't have a camera that actually. There's nothing valuable in there.
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking like outside of an April Fool's joke, why would you do that?
It's one of the most retarded things I've ever seen. I deal with so much retardism on a regular basis. Like that's my job. Is just like circus manager.
Yeah.
Sometimes I see so much shit. We had, I think it was last summer, maybe it was 2018 actually, I don't know. We had a guy that, and I mean, we're pretty liberal when it comes to drinking in the office. Like I don't mind if somebody has a drink with their lunch or goes out and has a couple of drinks. Somebody's drunk, I'm going to ask them to leave, and we've done that before. Because again, we're dealing with independent contractors. But I had a guy drinking a beer in a coffee mug in a lease signing. So we have Nicole on the line. She's in the waiting room. I'm going to bring Nicole in.
Yeah, let's bring her in.
I'll let her introduce herself because I know she's got to hopefully allow her. All right, I'm going to stop you right there. Nicole's about to join us, and that'll be on episode 34, a Sip Talk. Check that out. It's being published simultaneously, so if you're listening to me now or you're watching me now, you can go right on to episode 34 should you choose to. Thank you for watching. As always, appreciate you being here.